Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're going to do some smoked salmon today. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Really simple, not hard at all. I haven't exactly decided how I'm going to smoke this yet, but we'll get to that. For now, we're just going to get our salmon ready, and it's again really easy, and I'll get stuff together and we'll bring you back and we'll get it set up for its brine. So for our brine, it couldn't be simpler. We're just going to use some light brown sugar just because I have a lot of light brown sugar and regular salt. I'm using Diamond Crystal salt, pure salt. And we're going to use a 4-to-1 ratio. I find that 4-to-1, and that is sugar to salt, really provides a nice brine, great flavor. And you don't really run the risk of over salting your fish. I'm going to leave this in here about a day, 12 hours maybe, 12 to 16 hours. And I won't over salt the fish in that time at all. And if I left it in for another day, just because I didn't get to it, it would be fine. So we're going to use 4 cups of light brown sugar and 1 cup of salt. I had a little bit more than 4 cups of brown sugar, so I just topped off the salt a little bit. And all we're going to do is get it good and incorporated. So I just want to get it mixed around really well. And this dry brine is ready. So this is going to cure our fish and get it ready for the smoker. So I'm going to get my cutting board out here. We're going to get the fish ready and then we will go from there. So I will bring you back here in just a minute. Okay, so these are just a couple of wild caught sockeye salmon fillets. There's really not a lot to do with to them to get them ready. There were a couple of pin bones really just laying on top more than still in the fish. So I got those out of the way. Gonna run my fingers over just to make sure there weren't any that were missed, but they seem to be fine. And then we're just gonna cut these into whatever size we want for the smoker. And I'm really gonna use my brining container as kind of a guide. I'm not gonna get too exact, but just gonna cut them in chunks like this. Something like that. And then probably do this last big wide hog right down the middle. And there we go. Oop. And then just do the same with the other one. There, those will work good. And we won't eat these, well, I don't think we'll eat them all right after they're done. So these would be good size to then throw in the vac sealer as well. So it's really pretty simple from here. So we'll just move right into the brining container. I'm just going to use this large plastic tub with the lid. It'll work well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by sprinkling a little of our sugar and salt in the bottom, just essentially get the bottom covered. There we go. And then we'll get our fish down in the bottom there. And I'm going to try not to overlap it at all and cover one piece of the fish with another because we want it all to get the brine touching it. And I'm going to end up using all of this brine. And what it's going to do, it's going to pull the moisture out of the fish and create a brining solution. So while this is starting out as a dry brine, it's really going to be very moist in the end. We'll essentially pull it out of a big vat of its own liquid. So we're just going to keep layering. And I wanted to get the sugar and salt mixed up. There's a pocket of salt, but ultimately it's all going to get mixed together. and it'll be fine. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good, I always say. There we go. And as some of these pieces get larger, you may not be able to do 2 pieces in one layer. We will mix this together over the course of the next day, and so we'll make sure the brine is touching everywhere. There we go. Do another one and do these by themselves, kind of. These last 2. Now there's certainly a number of ways you can do your brine. I find this is the simplest. There we go. So I'm really just going to pour the rest of that in, just like that. All right, this is going to go to the refrigerator. It is mid-afternoon here now. Probably once before I crash and burn tonight, I will mix this around. It sort of depends. I will definitely mix it around first thing in the morning. But this is going to the fridge just like this, and we'll bring you back tomorrow when we decide how we're going to smoke this, and we'll get it ready to go. So we'll see you soon. All right, so it's the next day. Our salmon has been brining for probably 16 to 18 hours, something like that. I don't exactly remember what time I did this yesterday, but it's something like that. I don't know if you can see in this container, but all of the liquid, so all of that sugar and salt is now mixed with the moisture that has been pulled out of that salmon, kind of created its own wet brine, and that moisture being removed from the salmon is a necessary process to smoke it. So what we're going to do now, and I'm not going to put all of this on video, I'm going to take this over to the sink and I'm going to rinse this salmon off, get the excess sugar and salt off of it, and then we're going to let it sit, and I'll come back and talk a little bit more about that. But we're going to get it rinsed off and patted dry first, so we will bring you back in a few minutes and go from there. Okay, so here's our salmon. I've got it on a rack here because I want it to dry, so I want the airflow to be able to get all around the salmon. So we're just going to leave it on the counter. It's been in that salt solution, long enough. It's not going bad or anything like that. You could certainly do this in your refrigerator, and I would do that if I was going to wait a while to smoke this, but I'm going to let it sit here 3 to 5 hours. And I've decided we're going to do this on the Lone Star Grill's offset smoker. I think that's going to provide the best flavor. I'll talk a little bit about temperature control once we're out there, but I'm looking forward to doing that on the offset today. I did oil up this rack just because I don't want the skin to stick, or at least stick as much. So we're going to let it sit here, and we'll bring you back and when we light the smoker here in the next 3 to 5 hours, and this salmon will go on. So we'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to do while it's on the smoker, temperature control and things like that, but we'll see you in a few hours. Hey, just real quick, couple things I forgot to mention. So while this was in the brine solution, 2 times I went in and mixed the salmon around just to make sure we could get some even coverage on it as far as the brine goes. And this drying out process is going to help develop what we call a pellicle, which is sort of a tacky surface. And by the way, the salmon is really firm now because of the moisture that got removed. But that pellicle will develop now over time as the salmon dries out, and that will help grab that smoke and give it that good smoky flavor that smoked salmon has. So we'll bring you back in a few hours when we get that Lone Star Grill's offset smoker going. So I was in the garage getting the stuff ready to start the fire in the offset smoker, and I saw the Little Chief, and I haven't had the Little Chief out in a while, so I thought this will be fun. So we're going to use the Little Chief to smoke this salmon. We'll show you the salmon in a minute, but it's looking really good. Got a nice pellicle. It's probably been about 4 hours, and I ended up, as you saw in the photo, putting a fan there just to help dry it even more and develop that pellicle. We'll get closer to the Little Chief and I'll show you how it operates. Matter of fact, we'll just do it now. I'll pull this table out, add a little room there. So it's just an aluminum box essentially. They make one bigger than this, but if we take the front plate off, it'll hold between 160 and 180 degrees just from the heating element down here. And for our smoke, we just have pans of wood chips. I can't see the camera, but I'm assuming this is coming through. And I've got a mix of pecan and apple wood chips here. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead, and add that to the heating element and let it start going. This will start creating smoke and we'll get our salmon in just a minute. And I'll talk a little bit more about this process as we go. So we'll get started. All right, while we wait for our smoke to start, I thought I'd show you the salmon. Got some flies out here and battling, but whoa, gotta be careful. I've got this rigged up with some oil so the skin doesn't stick, but I don't know if you can see that or not, but a nice tacky surface. Nice and dry, not no moisture left on the finger at all when I pull it off. Just tacky and ready for some smoke. So we're gonna get this on the Little Chief. Got the wood chips already in there. This can get a little warm, so I usually use a thin glove. The bottom has a pan that I've lined with foil, actually one of the last cooks I did, so just to catch any drippings from the salmon. But you'll be amazed at the smoke we can get on using this. So we're just going to get these in kind of the middle to top. And we'll probably, between pans, switch the two racks just to get some evenness. And there we go. So these will go about 160 to 180. 2 pans worth, and that's all we'll use. We'll leave it in there without the pans so it can continue to get to the temperature we want, which for me is 140, give or take. Some of the thin edges will get a lot more done, and I actually don't mind that. I think those are good too, but for the thick pieces, we'll let those get to 140, and that'll be it. So we'll bring you back as this gets going and gets to smoking. But the Little Chief is an inexpensive, fun way to get some smoke on things. Great to use for cold smoking in the dead of winter for your cheeses and things like that. So we'll bring you back. Thanks for joining. All right, I don't know if that's coming through in the video or not, but we're definitely smoking. So we've got our apple and pecan wood mixture, and they're just wood chips, by the way. I'll give a close-up there if I can. Just wood chips piled up in the pan. These pans come with the Little Chief. One of them did. I bought a second one. It'll last 45 minutes to an hour. We'll pull it out and replace it with the next one. You can definitely over smoke in here. I made that mistake once with salmon. It just was not good, and I realized that you really only want to do 2 or 3 pans, and I probably alternated them in and out full pans for 4 to 6 hours. So I way over smoked. So that was a lesson learned. I'm going to do 2 pans, but I do have them pretty full. They'll actually barely fit in there. And that's going to be how much we smoke today. And then I'll either finish it in here without any smoke, or I can even finish it in the oven. When I did my experimental cook for this, just which I try to do to make sure I don't screw it up, I actually finished them in the oven because it was getting late at night and it was going to start to rain and I didn't want to deal with it. So I just finished them in the oven at 170 until they got up to my 140 temperature, and they were great. So we'll let these continue to go. At some point, probably maybe between switching the pans, I'll go ahead and take the door off and pull one of the racks out, and we'll take a look at them. So we'll bring you back. Okay, we're going to get our wood chips replaced and switch our racks. So here's our wood chip pan that we're going to replace. It's pretty well done smoking. I'm going to dump that in the fire pit. I actually think I'm going to go with a little less chunks in the one I'm replacing it with, so I'm just going to take some of those out by hand. Probably not in the camera, but that's okay. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and take this lid off. And I think I'm just going to move this lower rack up to the top. Oh man, look at the color on that. Oh, there we go. Looks really good. Got some of the albumin proteins coming out of the top, which ideally you won't have a lot of that, but I've got a little, which is fine. So there we go. And I'll go ahead and put the wood chips in there now. And there we go. I think next time I may use a wireless probe, and not to put in the salmon unless I've got a really thick piece, but I really want to know the temperature going on inside. But for now, we'll just let this go. And once that next pan goes out, we will just let it come up to temperature in the cooker with the heating element on without any wood chips. So we'll bring you back. All right, I started to do this without turning the camera on, but I may as well turn the camera on. I'm going to pull both of these racks out. They're not quite done yet. We're about 120 to 125 internal, depending on where you check. I'm going to use one of the thicker pieces and just go off that. I'm not going to take these off piecemeal. But just going to take them off, and I've got some honey that I heated up to thin it out, and I added about a half a teaspoon of black pepper. Totally guessing on the measurements, but it was something like that. And we're just going to do one tray of these real fast. I'm going to leave the other one just as it is. And I might try to get one more basting in before we're done here, but if I don't, that's no big deal. I think I've changed my mind. I actually think I'm going to do both of these. So I'm going to get this other tray out. Here we go. This tray in. Okay, so we'll get these basted here. This honey will add some flavor. It'll make it look really pretty too. Black pepper, give it a little bit of a kick. And I think I'm going to do something with about half of this salmon and either add a new video or maybe just tack it onto the end of this one. I haven't quite decided. But so far, so good on this. Whew, getting smoked out here. So I'm going to get this back in the cooker. Let that smoke hit the honey for a few minutes. And I'm probably taking the wood chips out here pretty soon. I don't want to over smoke it. And I'm just, probably after this comes up to temperature, and then I will take the wood chips out and just let this finish on its own with just the heating element. So we'll see you in just a little bit. All right. So this has been going without a pan of wood chips for a while now. We're going to give this a check. I bet we're pretty close, if not done. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, 143. So That's really done, a little more done than I wanted, but it'll be fine. So the smaller, thinner pieces almost be like, I don't know if I'm even in the camera, will almost be like jerky, which is fine. I actually like that, and that's why I don't really worry about how thin a piece is. I'll just let it get a little more done than the thicker pieces, and that works fine for me. So I'm gonna let this cool on this cutting board, and then we'll take it off and get it inside. So there we are. Got that sweet pepper honey. Oops. I don't know how I did that. All right, I'm not worried about it. You'll see it later. I'm gotta figure this camera out, I guess. See you inside. Okay, I've already taken a bite. I got my thumbnail. I'm just gonna try this again real quick. It's really good. I'm on part of the thinner part, so it's definitely, you could call it overcooked, but I like it this way just as much as I like the thicker parts at a lower temperature. So, flavor's great. I love the sweetness that adding that honey and the black pepper as the base added. Comes right off the skin. So good. So I'm going to do a little something different with about half of this, but that's going to be on another video. It's going to be a kind of a salmon dip, smoked salmon dip. Man, that's good. Getting into the thicker part now. And this would probably be a little overcooked for some people. You could take it off between 130 and 135. This went up a little above 140 in many of the thicker pieces. It's still great though. Pretty easy, takes about a day, day and a half. And you could do this on any cooker. I used that little Chief today, but you could do the same thing on your pellet grill, your offset smoker. Keep that heat low, below 200 for sure. 160, 170 would be better. We're gonna call this. Thanks a lot for joining. I appreciate you. Do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I would definitely appreciate that. And stay tuned for a off-schedule video for some smoked salmon dip. I'll probably just throw that in midweek sometime. And yeah, that'll be good. So we'll see you next time at BuQeye BBQ. Thanks again.